Evergreen is like, that's the new like marketing word for stuff that doesn't go out of fashion. Like DC will always publish The Watchmen.
Okay.
The Watchmen is evergreen. Just every year they publish a new fucking edition of it. You know?
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So like, your podcast would be an evergreen plug versus I'll be here on October the whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, so how about this?
So how about this?
I'm Allan Dempsey.
And I am Rafiq Shaheen, and with us is Tampa's very own...
David Wayne.
There we go. Davey Wavy.
Yeah.
Davey Wavy. That's, I heard that's what you were going to start calling yourself on stage. No, it wasn't? Oh, no. I don't know where I got that.
It's just a bit I do is all. It's funny because there's actually, in the bit I started doing it, and Jeff Klein, another local comic, he happens to be gay, and his husband watches this YouTube guy who's named Davey Wavy.
Oh.
And he's like a gay, like in shape buff dude, and like hairless, greases himself up, takes crazy photos, and will just sit in front of a camera and rant shirtless about stuff. Maybe not rant, but... So I was hashtagging stuff on Instagram, hashtag Davey Wavy, and I was getting followed by all these gay guys. And I had no idea why. And then Jeff Klein heard me do the bit, and he goes, "Oh, just to let you know, there's a gay guy named Davey Wavy." I was like, that explains it.
I thought I was blowing up.
I would love if that dude was getting like a bunch of like...
How dare you?
I know, shut the fuck up.
You put a nickel in the cell phone jar, sir.
I would love if that dude was getting like a ton of follows from like Legion of Skanks members.
Oh yeah,
like in exchange, he's like, all these dudes who are into like Slayer and Metallica keep on following me all of a sudden.
Yeah, it just goes the opposite way. Yeah. So like, we want to recreate. Well, I shouldn't say we. I'm kind of being forced to recreate like a lot of his photos.
Oh, that's great.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
Wait, who's forcing you?
No one's forcing me. But everyone's like, dude,
has the mob approached you? Hey, here's what's gonna happen, yo.
No, but they were like, it'd be great, like, promotion. Like, that could go viral or something. I'm like, yeah, but then they find out that my jokes are not the cleanest of jokes, and it's not like I...
Right.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm not homosexual or homophobic or anything, but...
Let me ask you something. Do you think that the people who follow the grease down buff gay guy are looking for squeaky clean comedy?
No, probably not, but that's true. I didn't even think about that.
They're sitting around, they're like, pull your dick out!
Like, I finally have a fan base, but it's people that I'm like, I never thought you'd like me.
Look, I'm really glad you guys are here. I'm not going to pull my dick out. Okay? Can we just start from that? Listen to what I have to say.
Yeah. Pull your dick out!
How long have you been doing comedy?
Like 4 years. So.
4 years, so that's... You started about around the time I ended, basically.
Yeah, it's like 4 years, but really... I mean, everyone's got their stories. But the first year, or first 2.5 years, essentially, I was only getting up once, maybe twice a week.
Okay.
So you're not going to get good like that. You know what I mean? You're going to be longer. And then I was with my girl, and she switched to weekends, because I have to babysit her daughter. It's like a whole thing. So then I was getting up Monday through Friday, but she was working doubles on weekends, so I couldn't go out on weekends. So I started getting better, and people were like, hey, come do my show. But it's a Saturday, and I couldn't do it because I had to babysit the kid. It was a whole rigmarole.
I don't know. That whole formula is so fucking weird to me now, right? Because, like, 8 years in, getting up, like, Monday through Friday, and there's still a lot of that whole conversation of, like, yeah, we know you, right? But it's like, no one goes, hey, come in on the weekend, right? That, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's that whole thing of, like, yeah, you're going out and you're putting yourself out there more, and for what it's worth to anyone who even thinks about trying comedy, you need to.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same point in time, it's like, being supportive does not translate into booking.
No.
Like, there's a weird dichotomy between we know you and we like you and we'll book you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always... I don't know how this has changed since I kind of walked away from the mic, but when I was active, there was a group that I always called the cool kids.
Mm-hmm.
and it was like they all hung out together. They all booked shows together.
Yeah.
They all supported each other. And I have every reason to believe that they all liked me. They were fans of mine. They respected what I did. I've got stories. Some of the ones that I thought didn't even know who I was, I've got stories of them going to people and telling them about me, And it was like, why didn't you invite me into the Cool Kids Club? Like, why can't I be part of your gang and go perform with you guys? Like, what did I do wrong? I don't, know.
So you're always cool kid,
dude.
Jason.
That's so funny. I want to talk about this because the first time I met you was at that Chris Heiss show at the Old Pegasus. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So Chris Heiss did like this
he was like shooting a weird special.
It was like a one-man special. It was like 90 minutes or whatever he did. And then we all went and got food at some bar that Jacobs knew.
Okay.
And I got really fucked up in the parking lot before going in, and ended up throwing up in the bathroom at one point.
Is this the night we all went behind the bar and got high?
I think so. I'm not sure.
that was the night that made me stop driving drunk because I goddamn near died that night.
Yeah. But we get in there and I'm throwing up, and then you were talking to Jacobs. We're all sitting at the table, and you're talking to Jacobs about like the comedy scene, I guess, in Tampa and all this stuff, and you're kind of like, saying essentially what you were saying a second ago.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit more intense, you know what I mean?
Well, I was angry at the time.
Exactly.
Right.
And then I was like, and I'm so fucked up that I'm sitting there and I just met you and I start getting paranoid. I'm like, is he going to murder us? Like, for some reason in my head, I hadn't eaten all day, and then I could get fucking hammered.
How's that the excuse?
And I'm just like, wait a minute. So I'm just like freaking out and paranoid. It's just not.
I like how the connection for you is like, if I don't eat all day, I just think people are gonna murder me.
If I don't eat all day, drink a bunch of booze, and then sit next to this psycho. So wait, you're telling me that I got a little over emotional about something? Oh, that can't. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
couldn't have possibly been me. That's bizarre.
No, it was cool, but it was just like, that's just my silliness. And the problem is I got so fucked up, I had to get an Uber driver to come like pick me up. I've never Ubered, and at the time I was living in Newport Richie.
Oh, holy shit!
So I had to Uber from Tampa to Newport
dear
Richie.
God.
And then my girl drove me back to the bar the next morning to get my car, and I didn't realize how bad of the neighborhood we were in. But it was pretty bad. I was like, man, I'm surprised my car's in one piece. No one broke into it. And then Kupo fell asleep in his car before he was going to drive home, and ended up waking up at like 6:30 in the morning, like, oh shit, and then just drove home.
There's a certain honor amongst poverty where, like, at a certain level, you're like, we're not gonna break into anyone's car because we know nobody in this neighborhood has anything worth stealing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a base model Corolla, so I doubt anyone's fucking with it.
I think that was, I'm almost certain that was the night. That bar that you're talking about was, it was a weird. It was like a hole-in-the-wall bar, but everything was like neon lights.
Yeah.
And like everything was like blue and pink. And the girl behind the bar was really cute and couldn't wait to tell everybody at the bar about how she was a nudist. And like at some point during the night, her tits fell out. And it was, yeah. And
that's how fucked up I was.
But it was like, it was long enough ago at the time that I was like trying to get to know her because I've hung around some of those circles.
Yeah.
Now I've gotten old and grumpy enough to be like, oh, she's just can't wait to tell everybody how interesting she is.
Yeah.
And like
Because
I don't need to see her naked that bad to sit here and listen to her fucking horse shit.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, that was the thing, because I had eaten all day, and John's like, oh, I know this little bar, they have wings and chicken fingers and shit, and we're like, sweet, so we go there, and John's like, bad news, new owner, they don't have any food. And I was like, oh no. They had like bags of chips you could buy. I was like, I don't even want to deal with that shit, but so it was a weird night. But
we ended up in a circle. Rafiq, you know how bad I am when I smoke the weed. And we ended up in a circle smoking weed, and it was that moment of like, I should not do this. And I took one hit, passed it, it went back around to me. I'm like, am I really going to do another? I guess I am. And then when I get high, David, I don't get high like normal people. Like my friends who do a lot of weed, when I tell them my high stories, they go like, "Oh, you shouldn't do weed."
Yeah.
You know,
not at once.
Everything gets weird and fractal, and like time starts splitting into these like I'm in the conversation. Okay, we're talking about this Yeti mic. That I know. Oh shit, I don't know what he's saying because I'm thinking about what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, he said that he likes the light on it. Okay, so we're talking about the light on the Yeti. Oh fuck, he's still talking. I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah, so you're in your own head.
Yeah, totally.
That happened with Dave Hines. I went to his house and we got fucked up, and I just like Tim C was supposed to come over, like another comic, and he's like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hey, is Tim coming over?" He goes, "Nah, he's not coming over." And like the way he said it, I was like, "What?" And it was like the first time hanging out with Dave like at his house. So it was very similar.
Yeah.
For some reason, when I get really fucked up and I don't know the person that well,
you're in danger.
They're gonna murder me. So I'm like stuck in his couch. I can't move, and he's telling me all about like what was that? What he used to do, Kava comedy.
Yeah.
He's telling me all that. So I'm carrying on a conversation with him about it. But in my own head, I'm like, he's gonna murder me. I don't know.
Meanwhile, Dave's slowly getting undressed, putting on his ceremonial robe, just pacing back and forth with the knife.
Kava, is that still a thing? Kava comedy?
No,
I don't think so. But
it was just a comedy show at a Kava bar, right?
Yeah.
No, they were like trying to be like an organization that booked like other rooms, but it was always at Bola.
Well, like there was like two groups at the time. There was like the, Cigar City Comedy, right, which was like Matt Fernandez, Law, Smith, Joe Riga,
right.
Weingarten, you know, like there was a whole collection, Krishna, you know, and I think that group still exists, but like I'm not entirely certain, but like it was them, and then like Kava started coming around, I guess, as like a challenger to be like, we'll book all the kids who aren't in the cool like
Cigar
kids
City,
club, Cigar City club thing, you know. It's just like, what?
So in the last
like,
last
like,
month and a half, I've started going to Kava bars and getting into Kava, and I can't comprehend comedy like existing in that world.
Oh yeah,
because it's just, first of all, Kava's not like a. There's something about being drunk where it like. It brings you down, it depresses you, but it also jacks your stupidity way up.
Right.
Do either of you drink kava?
I have. Honestly, I drink kava and I'm like, this just tastes like dirty dishwater.
Oh, it tastes terrible.
I don't know why I would
the people who do it a lot still will tell you.
Confused. Is kava the one that's like an opioid?
Yeah.
So
and there's kratom.
I don't know what that is.
They're both similar. Like,
okay.
My understanding is like kava is...
It's what people drink to get off of heroin and shit, right?
Yeah, kinda.
Like, well, okay, so kava bars they label themselves as sober bars. That's horseshit. Because kava fucks you up. It's a different, you know. So you got booze. So you got the booze that's bringing you down. You're slower. You're dumber. You know, things are
reaction time,
yeah.
But it's also jacking up your like it's a depressant that is like really intense because you're stupider and you're louder and everything's way fucking funnier.
Right.
You know, that's a comedy drug. You know, I'm mellow enough to sit in this seat, but my stupid's high, so I can laugh at the funny man.
Yeah,
weed's the same way too. Like,
kava is all just about dampening. And the stupid, you're still smart. You can totally function in a drive and do everything you gotta do on kava. But you're just completely, you have no emotions. And you have no reaction to anything. And something really fucking hilarious happens. And you go, that was funny, man. And I can't.
So it's like an antidepressant where it just evens you out, where you don't care.
That's what it does to me,
okay.
And that's why I started drinking it, because I stopped smoking e-cigarettes and I was freaking the fuck out. So I started dampening. Look, I have to dampen my emotions somehow.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess I'll do it with kava. better than
there's
drinking
always,
myself into oblivion.
Drinking or smoking.
See, for me, that like, I've always had like a weird state because like I'm typically a placid kind of person. Like on
You're
the surface.
pretty fucking anxious though, man.
That's true, but I mean like on the surface.
I mean, you know you're a comedian, right?
I'm just saying, like on the surface, like when people see me or interact with people, I'm just like, hey man, what's up,
right?
But like part of the reason why I don't do drugs is because like I already have a weird fucking mindset. So like when
is weed a drug?
Yeah.
Okay, because you do weed.
Yeah,
I've been around you.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right?
Weed's not a drug.
Let me give you an example of what fucking happened to me at work, right?
Okay.
Coworker comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, what you thinking about?" And in that moment, I had to stop and I was like, "Well, I'm wondering if time is real or a shared illusion. I'm also wondering what's for lunch, and I was wondering what an anthropomorphic gay house would look like." So I go, what would that be like on coke? Like, it's not going to be a good thing. Like,
how is this not a bit? This is perfect.
Well, on coke, I think you're just going to pick one of those three and then just go do it. That's what's going to happen.
Like you go build an anthropomorphic
gay
house.
You just have to do it.
I was like,
you're going to go to a buffet and just go all out.
Have you ever done coke?
No.
I go ahead. Sorry.
In my head, like I was picturing the house with like the fucking eyelashes, like just going like "Hello, boys," and like rolling out like a red carpet for like a group of sailors, and I was like, "What the like?" And it's like I can't imagine having that imagination while I'm fucking amped up on drugs, going like, "Yeah, man, let's talk about this forever," you know, like because I already talk too much now. Like,
yeah, I mean, it has that adverse effect where it like calms you down. That's the whole.
Who knows? I kind of. The big thing that kind of dissuaded me from getting into the whole drug scene is like that. I say this with as much love for my brother Oscar as possible, but like he used to do a lot of coke. That he's not gonna care if his name.
All right, like, I have to keep censoring this fucking guy because he keeps spitting names out on this podcast. Yeah, and you know, there's a microphone here, man.
Yeah, and every time I've told you who we can't mention and who we can.
All right,
who gives a fuck? But like the thing with Oscar is like he did a shit ton of coke at one point in time in his life, and he gave himself fucking epilepsy.
Holy God!
And like when I was a kid, there was one day when we went to visit him, and we're all sleeping in like me and the rest of my brothers are sleeping in a hotel room, and I wake up in the middle of the night because somebody's thrashing on the bed, and it's like a fucking Kurosawa scene. Like I wake up and literally like blood's just spraying the walls.
Whoa!
Because he bit his tongue during a seizure.
Oh, wow.
Is Coke responsible for that, or was he just epileptic?
No, that's what the fucking doctor says, that he did so much cocaine that he fucking gave himself epilepsy. And so, when you're 12, you're
that's called partying hard.
Right, when you're 12, you're like, that? Never did do that. Like,
I'm good.
Like,
there's nothing romantic about what I just,
Right?
That's
the idea of someone taking like a fucking bump in a like barroom bathroom to fucking get up there. I'm like, yeah, no, I see how this ends. It's not a fun moment. I'm good. You can do it. I'll support your right to do it. Just don't ask me to. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
My brother did all the 90s kid drugs. It was, hallucinogens, weed,
shroom,
all that shit. And to my knowledge, all he does now is smoke weed, and he'll drink every now and then. But he doesn't even get like hammered. It's just weed.
Yeah.
But he was telling me about coke, and this terrifies me. This is like one of the, for me, there's the cautionary tales, but there's also like, no, that doesn't sound
right.
He said, before I had ever done any drug, and he was trying to explain to me what it was like. He was like, with weed, you can get there. You can draw a line and go, this is where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Weed will get you where you want to go, and then you can stop. He said with coke, the line always gets pushed further. Yeah. You go, I want to get there. You get there, and then it's like, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And then you get to the next level. I'm just not right there where I need to be.
You just got to keep doing
You got to keep doing coke.
Yeah. That's what I always heard. Kupo used to say that. He was like, It's like the only time I really want to do coke is right after I've done coke. Like then I just want to keep doing it, you know. And I'm like, yeah, see, that scares me. I'm a big guy. I can't. This shit increases your heart rate. I don't want to even go down that road.
Oh, so you just remind me of something. I couldn't stop. Speaking of fucking weird ideas, I couldn't stop laughing at this earlier today because I was looking at myself in the like changing mirror at work. And I realized it's like I've hit this weird point of fat where I can't tell if the pain in my right arm is from working out all the time or because I'm having a fucking stroke.
You're like, is it numb from the curls
right?
or from the cheese curls? I don't know which one.
It's just shit like that where, like, when you're talking about, like, fucking doing drugs and being worried about, like, your size and everything, I'm like, all that stuff's already at play in my head.
Yeah.
Like, when you were talking about me being an anxious person, I go, like, yeah, that wheel's already turning. So, like, but on the surface, when people see me, I'm like, no, I've got this. I'm an adult. Like,
I tried, I never really fleshed it out. It was around the time I was giving up, but I tried this idea on stage about, like, the main reason I never became a drug addict was just like it just seems exhausting because all you're doing is looking for, acquiring, looking for, and it was like I can't remember how I phrased it now, but the idea was like I just don't want another full-time job. Like I'm basically too lazy to be a drug addict. That's why. It's got nothing to do with my health. It's got nothing to do with immorality.
Like
it just seems exhausting to be constantly chasing the drug.
It's like you gotta meet people and then you gotta exchange phone numbers and keep in contact. Like,
I don't like doing that for anything.
Right.
Much less for a drug. Boo.
There was a guy that a comic buddy of ours used to introduce when he was using, who he called Satan, which it was always a weird moment because he'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with Satan, and he'd be like, and it's
you
like,
too,
right? And it's like we had met the guy, and part of me goes like, if you're calling your friend Satan in a derogatory way. Like the kind of persuasion.
Oh, the guy didn't refer to himself as Satan.
No,
I thought you were saying like hi, I go by Satan.
No. Like our mutual buddy.
That's great.
Referred to this guy as Satan, and would go like.
I hang out with this guy all the time.
Right.
I hate him. He's the devil.
Exactly, and that was always his. And it was one of those things where I would go, if you have to refer to your friend like that in order to dissuade yourself from spending time with him. Maybe you shouldn't spend time with him. Maybe there's nothing really there for you.
Yeah.
Like,
were you there? I don't think you were, David. Rafiq, were you there the night we were out with Jacobs at the reservoir and we ran into the most insane woman in the world who was telling us about being Baker acted for like setting her friend's house?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. This is such a comedian story. We're at this bar. I guess
I know the res, yeah. I know more, yeah.
This girl and this guy she was with, I think they may have actually been at the show. I don't think they just came up to us. Okay. Like, I think those are the guys, you know. And dude was like, I can't visually, like, I don't know if I can explain it just with my voice, but like, it was that thing of like never looking at any one thing and just constantly like turning his back on everybody and just like, you know, clearly dealing with his drug problem.
Scatterbrain.
You know.
Or like,
but not even like
squirrel.
Yeah, but like not even involved. Not even like, hi, I'm so and so, and then go scatter. Like, I'm dealing with my meth right now.
Right.
I'm dealing with my meth.
It's like, hey, get the demons, like.
But I mean, I don't think he said a word. She was beautiful. She was a 10, but just like opened like, hello, I'm so and so. I have Benoit balls in my pussy. And just was like telling us about her Benoit balls that are currently in her pussy at that moment.
What the hell's a Benoit ball?
It's these little things that you like put up your pussy. We all have pussies. And you basically like Kegel them to like strengthen your pussy muscles.
Oh, so you're just doing Kegels with it?
Mm-hmm. But she couldn't stop. And then she would tell, like she had this, she was like, the languid drunk, like, oh, hello, I'm going to tell you a story, you know, with the cigarette and the, you know, like, classy drunk lady. You know what I mean? And
turns into like a rich like
yeah.
bitch.
Like that was her
vibe.
Yeah, her vibe was very like classy, mellow, drunk lady. But everything that came out of her mouth was terrifying. She was talking about, and just she had this like little smirk on her face the whole time. Like, let me tell you guys some fun little stories about my interesting life, and just like. The time she got Baker acted for setting her roommate's bathroom on fire because she annoyed me, smirk.
Right.
You know, and then for me, the line in the sand was when she was in the institution, she said, and I kept putting dead bugs up my pussy just to annoy the orderlies. And all I thought was, wow, you really showed them.
The orderly's fucking her?
I don't know. Just because they have to make sure that the patients aren't, putting bugs in their pussies.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that's part of your job description.
They probably named that check after her now. They're like, make sure you give all the patients
the Sally.
A Sally check. And they're like, what is that? Oh, rookie, let me show you. You got to prop your legs up on these stirrups. And you got to make sure there's no bugs in the pussy.
But try to imagine that story coming out of the mouth of a 10 in this, like, smirky, aren't we just sharing urbane stories back and forth?
I hate that, dude. Like, when people come up after a show or something and they're like, oh, you're funny, and then they try to, like, just be funny to you.
Right.
Or
it's like, I'm on your level. And it's like, no, you're clearly not. Like,
yeah,
we got hired to be here. Like, no.
It's like, why are you auditioning for me?
Right,
Like, it's
yeah,
weird.
exactly.
Like, they have to try to, like, seem funny and stuff. And I'm like, dude, just hang out. You don't have to...
Right, dude, just be you. Like,
well, I never liked that. You guys will probably turn on me here. I never really liked that among comics. Every time I see comics in a circle, like, trying to outdo one another,
that's annoying.
I just walk
yeah.
away. I have no interest. I don't want
Yeah.
to watch it. I don't want to hear it. And I certainly don't want to try to jump in and... Me too, right, guys? Like, fuck that shit.
I don't like that. I don't like when comics, like, try to run bits in a conversation. And I'm like, are you running a bit right now? And they're like, no, it's just something I thought of. And I'm like, so you're running a bit right now.
Right.
I'm like, that's fine if you do that. Just tell me. Don't try to do it, on me without telling me so you can try to get a genuine reaction. First of all, I'm not your audience.
Right.
Right. You're trying to make other comics laugh.
That's always the distinction I've always made, is because I go, if there is an idea that I have that I go, is this interesting or funny? You and I have talked a multitude of times, David, where I just go like, hey man, what do you think about this idea? Like, or I'm working on this premise, tell me what you think. Because I hate when someone just goes, oh, so... You know how it's like with marriage?
Hey, what's the deal?
Right, and then you're like, all right, cool, dude, you know we're both at the same open mic, and I just went up, so I'm going to see you do this in like 5 minutes, right? Like,
oh, it's so frustrating.
Have you ever noticed what's the deal?
Speaking of which, I want to give you kudos for last night, dude. Like, you did a show at Vortex, and like, that shit was fucking solid, man.
Oh, thank you.
Like... it's a fun room.
Yeah, the audience was just too... I don't know if they were too... I shouldn't blame the audience, but what I've noticed was they didn't like any of my pussy-eating jokes.
Well, then they just weren't your audience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was in St. Pete, and they were younger, like, white people. And
so what, they don't eat pussy? What's
that's
the
what
problem?
I thought. And I'm like, dude, you just don't want to hear about this from me? That's fine, too. But I was just like, I don't... Like, they didn't like... Because even Brad did some jokes about, like, R. Kelly and all this stuff, and the audience, like, pulled back on it, and it's like, well, you didn't even hear the joke yet. He just said R. Kelly, and they're like real woke, if you will, which I
was just about to say, like, is it just the fact that you said pussy and now you're a sexist? Is that probably what happened?
I don't know what it was. I mean, the other stuff hit, like, the cleaner stuff, but there was one table that was digging it, so I was like, you guys are cool. The rest of you.
There's always a weird thing for guys like you and me, where people look at us and they go, I think he's a scumbag, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And it's always, like, for me, I always kind of revel in it, because I love doing, like, a joke where it's like, this is clearly oversharing, but I don't care.
Yeah.
And then following it up with something, like, goofy and silly, being like, oh, by the way, I was fucking a midget. Anyway, have you guys ever wondered what it'd be like to cuddle a panda? Like,
Have you ever, I guess you guys do different stuff. I always did angry, miserable. Hi, I'm Allan. I'm very angry and miserable.
Yeah.
So sometimes I found that when I did really well, this is a weird. If you do really well, people let you know, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But there were times that I did really well, and I could actually feel like people kind of avoiding me. Like they took me real seriously. Like they thought I was funny. They enjoyed the act, but they were like, I don't really want to talk to that guy because it was like
They thought you
It's
were on
like
a
he's got
soapbox
demons.
on stage
Yeah.
or something.
Well, and it was that thing of like, I meant everything I said, but I'm also doing an exaggerated version of
For sure.
myself.
That's what people don't
You know,
understand.
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's so like it's that weird thing of
I
like,
started like that. I used to be ranty and like, and because Bill Burr's like one of my favorite comics,
Sure.
and the way he is. But it's like, well, I'm a pretty big guy. Like Burr's tiny, and he's redheaded, and he's freckled, so that's automatically non-threatening.
Well, he's got that high voice.
Yeah, so
Right.
people think it's non-threatening, but then you throw the Boston accent in there, and it's like a thing. But with me, it's like, well, he'd be complaining about stuff, and it's like, so that's what I did. I would complain about stuff on stage and try to make it funny. But then I realized that's not really, like, how I am.
Yeah,
So-
if I had to make a comparison,
Oh,
to,
you weren't
like,
actually speaking from your.
I
Truth.
am for sure. That's why I love doing podcasts, because I can talk about the serious shit that really annoys me, and I don't have to be funny about it.
Sure.
Right, you can just be.
I can just
you.
vent, which is what they always said. Like if Bill Hicks had a podcast, that way he could just do his serious venting shit,
And
on
then
a
actually try to be
podcast,
funny.
and then just on stage just do jokes.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah, I would go if I had to make a modern like a famous comparison to the three of us. I would go like probably Lewis Black for Allan, Big J Okerson for David, and like Kyle Kinane for myself. Of like, because to me, as much as I would love to be like a guy like Big J, I go. There's a certain amount of like seriousness that I do that's
Yeah.
followed by like this premise is inherently goofy, and there's like no changing the nature of how goofy this thought is.
I don't know if I would embrace Lewis Black because I wasn't. I was never really political.
Not necessarily political, but when I say like
Your ranty style.
yeah, like older, ranty, angry, I could imagine someone being like, "Oh yeah, he's kind of like, you know."
Someone said, "I'm gonna really brag here." I was writing a bio, and I sent a text to like 8 comic friends who I trusted, and I was like, "What are some words you would use to describe my style?" And one of them came back with, I'm trying to think of who it was. Somebody came back with like sinister sophistication. And I was like, oh, I'm using that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna clickety click click click.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
That's a great description.
Sinister sophistication. I couldn't have been more proud,
Right.
and I didn't even come up with it.
It's like a genteel devil.
I just wrote my bio for a comedy festival that I submitted to, and I just like I fucking hate it because I'm sitting there bragging about myself, and then you have to speak in the third person like you're this elitist prick, and you're just like, David Wayne style incorporates, and I'm just like, oh god, I don't even want to type this.
Right.
You know? I just feel like such an asshole.
Oh, because it's like it's funny because before you got here, we were talking about how you promote yourself, but it's like there's something inherent about self-promotion that is douchey.
Yeah,
To be like,
100%.
oh, look at me, I'm such a badass, and it's like, you know who doesn't say that? Badasses, right?
Yeah.
Like
Other people say it about them,
right?
You know what I
You've
mean?
never seen The Rock come out like in a movie and just be like, oh, you know how badass I'm gonna be in this film? Hey, just checking around minute 43. You guys trust me. That's gonna be the badass scene of this film, and just like walk off set, and you'd be like, what the fuck was that? Like,
Yeah, that's like when a comic bombs, and then you're just like, oh, it happens. Everybody bombs.
Right.
But then they try to prove to you that they're funny, and I'm like, dude, you're making it worse.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I'm really funny. Like it's just a rough crowd. I'm like, no, yeah, I don't believe you now. You're lying. You are not funny.
Yeah.
Big J was like, when I did a guest set for him, and I was scared to listen to the audio because I'm like, I don't want to hear it back because in my head it's way better than what it was
Sure.
on the audio, you know? So like 3 months go by and I finally listened to it and I was like, holy shit, like that's the best audio I ever had.
Right.
And every joke hit and I was like, it felt so good because I'm like, there's an audience for me out there.
Sure.
It's just someone else's audience and they have to find me somehow,
yeah.
you know? But it's nice to know that people will enjoy the fucked up shit that I say. Because it's like dirty, but it's like goofy dirty. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I always say I want to be... All my favorite comics I call are successful fuck-ups.
Okay.
They're like people that are just like, when you see them, you're like, that guy doesn't look like he amounts
like
to
he
anything.
doesn't.
Right.
Like
right.
Big J wearing wallet chains and fingerless gloves and like cut off hoodies and
Right,
shit.
at like
You're like,
43.
Yeah.
yeah, dyed purple, blue hair. You're like, that guy is not doing anything. But it's like he is, though.
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? And he found a way to make a living off of that.
Yeah, I always find the act of trying to find out who your audience is always like a weird moment for me because like my audience, like I know it's close to Big J's, but it's not exactly Big J's. That's the thing. Every time like he's let me do a guest set or something like that for him, there's always a moment where like I'm on stage and I'm looking out at his people and I go like, you guys are so close to being in love with me, but like there's something inherent about me that's not you.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is yet.
I probably told this story in another episode. When I went to Orlando, I was in Orlando for about a year. Not even, like 6 months. I couldn't pay the audience to laugh.
Yeah.
Because everyone in Orlando works at Disney. And they are trained to entertain a crowd.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to be shitty. There were some monsters out there. Some of those monsters barely told a joke.
Yeah.
But they had the audience by the balls.
Yeah. Well, Orlando's always been more, I would say, a performance based.
Right.
Not all of them, but you look at the people that have come out of there, you know? Like, and I always just use Preacher because he's the most recent. Like, Preacher
Right.
Lawson.
He's all over the place.
He's very animated. He's got jokes, too, for sure.
Oh, he's
but it's
definitely
just
got material.
Right.
It's a lot of it he can physically sell just off a look, a
Yes.
facial expression, a kick or something he does.
Right.
Where it's like, I'm not going to do any of that shit.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
so I have to rely on the words. So it's like, this is...
I could do, when I was in
Sucks.
Orlando, I could do my stuff that never failed. And just be like, what is happening right now? Because I'm grumpy, miserable guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's
And-
like, nobody... Well, and also,
They're all
I'm in a
the
tourist
happiest-
town. Everybody's
Yeah.
there to fucking go to Disney.
They're all want to go to the happiest place on earth.
And,
Right.
and he's
Not
went
be
and saw the
bummed
most
out.
miserable man.
Yeah. Yep, they sure did.
They don't want to be bummed out.
But what was crazy, I don't know that I had an audience, but I think people in Tampa are kind of miserable. And I think
Oh, yeah.
I think I
That's
did.
why I love it here. It's so fucking grimy and dirty. And it's people from everywhere else that live here.
Yeah.
Right.
There's not that many people from here.
I think a lot of people in Tampa were like, yeah, I get where this guy's coming. I mean, it depended on where you went. And,
For sure.
you know,
for sure.
but I'll never forget the night I was at it's that movie theater. It's like right next to this bar. I'm not even going to try to tell you what it is. It's like one of those, it's
Come on,
like,
the picture show.
That's
whatever?
it.
Yeah, picture show. I remember that. I
They-
never went, but I knew about it.
It's closed down now.
oh, did they?
I heard they would go and just be like 4 comics there, and that's it.
Right.
I did a show at the picture show one night, and I was told beforehand that it was like a professional singles group or something like that.
Oh no.
I fucking annihilated
Oh really?
because even though I
Yeah, they were all pent up because they weren't getting laid
Right,
either.
yeah.
They're like, fuck these bitches, and they're like, yeah.
so they're singles, but they're also professionals.
Yeah.
And I'm in there doing therapy jokes.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm in there doing I'm so miserable because, and it was like I found often that when I did like dating stuff or therapy stuff in front of like the 35 crowd,
Yeah.
that's
They
usually
go,
when
I get it.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like last night was a St. Pete audience, and my experience is like St. Pete at like Iberian and stuff. It's usually like 24, 25 ish. You know, white people.
Yeah.
And I'm 34, so like I could bring up sometimes I'll just say a word, and I immediately feel them pull back, and I'm like, dude, you didn't even hear what the bit is about.
Right.
You just heard a word, and because of their age, and I get that that's how they are, because I don't know, the internet and shit, they grew up with that. These are buzzwords, and you can't say that. And it's like, well, I did, and I'm gonna make it funny if you get out of your own fucking head and just stop thinking.
I hate the word triggered.
Yeah.
Because that's a word where I was like, oh, you mean he's an asshole? Because that's the word I grew up with. Is that guy's an asshole? Not, oh, you can't say these words. Or better stated, when I was a kid, the word was I'm offended. Or offensive. Right? This word is offensive. And it's like, okay, we get it. To you, this word is offensive. It does not make you feel comfortable. We get it. Now in fucking 2019, people are just going, la 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 la, I don't want to hear it, this word triggers me. And I'm like, so you're offended. Just say that. Just experience the emotion and then move on with your day.
Well, I think they're trying to make things their own, which I get,
It just sounds like a lazy way to get around experiencing the actual emotion.
Yeah.
Because again...
Oh, yeah. It's about trying to control someone else because you don't want to feel what you wouldn't want to feel.
Right.
Which we all do.
Oh, well, sure. But it's like when you bring up, I'm trying a bit now about white guilt, and like people, like when people feel that and they feel guilt. I'm like, why are you guilty about something that happened? Slavery. Yeah, it sucked, but it's like, you know what I mean? You shouldn't feel bad about it because you weren't there. You should know that it was a horrible thing. And moving forward, all right, cool. But it's like that, but that doesn't mean you can't talk about it, because it's like it did happen, and like people like cringe up about sensitive stuff like that. It's like in Germany, they taught in school that Hitler was a fucking horrible person. You know what I mean?
Well, you can have...
So, like, even going over there now, if you bring it up, apparently, I've never been, but they like, adopt, like, a,
Yeah, but there's a thing where
posture of penance, like, we're sorry about it, you know what I mean?
But at least they're having the conversation, though. That's my argument, is I go...
Exactly. You're saying they're not even willing to listen. They just instantly shut it out because they don't want to feel anything. That's what I was saying, is they don't want to feel that in themselves. So they just avoid it altogether.
Right. I have a true story.
But that's not how you grow, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I have a true story that happened recently where I accidentally punched somebody in the face in the bedroom.
This is a good story.
Oh.
Fine, fuck it, I'll say it. So,
don't say anyone's name.
Me and this girl were in bed together recently, and I'm having a nightmare or a dream or something that I'm fighting somebody.
Oh, wow.
And she goes to roll away, and when she does, she pushes me, and I sit up, still dreaming, and I throw a punch, and I connected with her. Right?
Why aren't you laughing? This is hilarious.
I'm trying to figure out, is this really what happened, or is this what you just put in the deposition?
No, this is
that's what I'm He's like, I have to say it on the recording this way, but I'm going to tell you after the pod, I just wanted to punch this bitch in the face.
No, this is really what happened, right? And so, immediately I was...
Do you have night terrars normally or something?
No, I was just having this one dream that I was fighting somebody.
I was dreaming that I wanted to punch this girl in the face.
Exactly.
And dreams do come true. No, I was having this one weird occurrence where I'm having this dream that I'm fighting somebody. She pushes me, sit up, still half asleep, throw the punch, connect. I immediately start freaking out because I'm like, holy shit, what did I do? I'm so sorry. I was telling her, I was like, I understand if you don't feel safe here. I am so sorry. I don't know how to apologize enough. And then her response was, oh, it's not that bad. In 30 minutes, when my nose stops bleeding, do you want to fool around or something now that we're awake?
She said that?
Yeah, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is wrong with,
Dude, you didn't marry her right then on the spot? We're going to Vegas right now.
You don't think it's you want to be with somebody who's yeah, come on, bring on the casual abuse. Fuck it,
yeah, dude.
I'll take a punch in the face for that dick.
Yeah. You're like, the Pats didn't cover. And it's she's like,
sometimes.
Yeah, and when my nose stops bleeding in 30 minutes and the game's over, do you want to fool around? No.
But that was the thing. It's So that happened, and like first off, like my ego starts going like, dude, how good is your dick? Like that she's willing to fucking stick around with this. And then for some reason my self-esteem started acting up and was like, hey man, not for nothing, like you couldn't knock her the fuck out. Like, you had like all the advantages here. Like it was a surprise attack. You're bigger than her. Like you've done boxing before. Like you know. But the whole reason why I'm saying this is I know for a fact that I can't go to Iberian Rooster. You can tell any joke anywhere. But if I go to Iberian Rooster and tell that joke, there's a far greater chance that it is not going to succeed. Because the moment I go, I punched this girl in the face, somebody in the audience is going to go, burn him!
Yeah. I think you can't. It's just one of those things that you have to really... I mean, I wouldn't open with it. But like you gotta have them on board kind of thing. That's what I like to believe is that anyone...
I agree.
You just
completely.
have to make them see your point of view. And that's the hard part.
When I first started... one of the most difficult things I had was, especially if you got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the miserable guy for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it's going to get dark.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know that I ever cracked the code, but I had to basically learn how to spend the first 2 getting them to understand me.
Yeah.
Before I could get into the real fucked up shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, you just let them know, like, obviously these are jokes. But at the same time, there's always going to be some truth maybe in there a little bit.
Well, it's like...
Not with everyone. Like, me, I just silly, goofy, these are dumb thoughts. Like you said, like you have dumb thoughts or silly thoughts, and you just report them, essentially.
But at a certain point in time, it's like, once the train leaves the station, you can usually just steamroll through whatever your train of thought is.
Yeah.
To be like, hey man, okay, I know this bit isn't for you, right? Like... But just sit. You enjoyed the first 20 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
Sit through these 5, and then you'll enjoy the next 20 minutes of the show again.
Well, that's why I love Florida, because we get so many different audiences here. It's crazy. Like, I was just in Pensacola and did, like, an all-black show. And it was, like, my first time in front of, like, an all-black audience. And you're in fucking Pensacola. These are, like, old, church-going, like... So I did all my clean shit, for sure. But then I did do a masturbation joke. But I prefaced it, I was like, well, I'm kind of out of clean material at this point. Normally I'm dirty. And I was like, and they were like, do it. And I was like, all right, cool. They didn't care. So then I did it. And I was like, all right. And then I did it. And they laughed. You know what I mean? Right. And then I did a dinner show. Same thing. It was like, there are people eating dinner at like 7:30. And I did all my clean stuff. And I was like, I don't really have any, like, clean jokes that I want to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, I only have dirty left or something like that. And they're like, do it. And I was like, all right, you asked for it. Yeah. And when I did them, those jokes hit way harder than the other ones. And I think it's because I either told them that, or that's what I'm battling with now is like, I don't know. Because when I do clean shit, I feel like the audience knows this isn't really me.
Yeah.
I'm not being real. So then when I get to the shit I really want to talk about or that I think's really funny, they like see that, and that's when I do better because
there's a certain amount of like the disingenuous nature of like I'm going to be up here for the next 5 to 10 minutes, and I am not going to say the word fuck because I don't say the word fuck, and it's like someone looks in my face and they go, we know you say that word.
Yeah.
Like, why are you pretending to not say that word? I can see your face screaming the word fuck at me.
And that was the hard part I got over too when I first started because like I never saw myself as a comedian. Like I was just like, I'm the drunk guy at the end of the bar in that town that people deal with. Mm-hmm. They're just like, oh, that's just Dave. You know, he's a local town drunk who always says stupid shit and occasionally it's funny. So that's how I always looked at myself. I'm like, no one wants to hear me talk. Like I don't have anything interesting to say. And that took a while to get out of that shell. And then finally it's like, no. I'm better than all of you, and here's why.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not really like that, but it's like you have to kind of psych yourself up over that shit. That's what I do, at least.
I forget who I was listening to, but like what I read a thing like a couple months ago that was saying when you do comedy, you have to act as though you're the mouthpiece of God.
Yeah.
Where it's like you know what's funny.
Your Moses like, this or whatever.
That's what I've been telling you for years. You just got to commit to the stupid.
Right.
That was always my is like I really believe this stupid fucking shit I'm saying right now, and you need to hear it.
Yeah.
You need to know what I'm saying right now. And it's, I just told a dog shit joke, but I told it with such fucking conviction that even if it wasn't funny, you believed that I believed.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I said. Like, I talk about eating pussy. Like, so many people have jokes like that, but it's like not like mine. You know what I mean? And that's how I look at it. It's like I'm very descriptive with it, and I use silly names and words. And
I think that's the reason why this past year people have liked me talking about fucking a midget.
Yeah.
It's just because it's like, it's a weird thing.
Did people get uptight about the word midget?
No. Like, I've had, like, 1 or 2 audience members who will go, like...
Ironically, they were midgets.
Right. who, like, I've had, like, 1 or 2 audience members who are like, we don't call them midgets, but usually I'm like, well, she called herself a midget, so, like...
Bridget the midget,
Yeah. But it's that whole, it's that whole thing about convention, because it's like, this is a thing I did. This is not, like, me running a bit or whatever on you. This was like, I fucked a midget, and then I immediately went like, I can't tell anyone that I did this, and then I had sex with a separate midget, and I was like, I have to tell everybody that, like...
I'm cleaning
up. They cancel each other out. It's like math.
2 negatives make a positive.
That's right.
I think it was Allan. I think it was you. We had that conversation of, like... How many midgets can you... No, it might not have been you. It might have been somebody
Doesn't sound like me.
Dunedin. But, like, we were having some conversation where it was like, how many midgets can you stack up together in order for it to be a threesome? It's like, if you have 3 midgets in a trench coat, is that, like, a foursome? Or did you just have sex with one person?
Yeah.
And that's where the inspiration for that, like... Do you think back in the slave times, like, slave owners would look at black midgets and be like, you're 3/5 of a person?
Only 3/5 of your vote counts.
Right.
That's horrible.
All right, David.
That's probably true, though.
I've noticed that a lot of times when we post things about this show, you tend to like them or even heart them. Are you familiar with our show? Have you listened to an episode of our show?
I'm going to be honest and say no, I haven't.
Okay. I was kind of hoping you had, because maybe you could give us a different perspective on this. But you're going to give us the same perspective everyone does. This is a mascot of a show, of our show, not a show. This is the mascot of our show. This guy, we can't spend too much time going over this, but just if you want to give us your reactions to what I've passed across the table to you here. You don't look happy about what's happening.
I don't know what it is.
What do you think it is?
I believe it's Ed the Machine, Regine, and he's telling 100 of the funniest jokes he's ever heard.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
What's going on inside of you?
I don't know.
It's you seem a little exhausted already.
Well, first of all, you can't be a machine if you're only repeating jokes you've heard.
Sure.
I would actually argue the other direction is that you're 100% machine.
You have no personality and thoughts of your own.
Maybe. Okay. I kind of see that. But machines only do what they're programmed to do.
Well,
this is Ed's programming.
He's programmed to tell hilarious jokes.
Yeah, but they aren't his, though, right?
You're right. You are right about that.
So it's just 100 street jokes?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Why don't you give that son of a bitch a little crack open and see what's on the inside for us?
I don't know what I'm going to do here.
Oh, you don't. There's nothing going to jump out at you.
Oh, okay.
And he's looking. He doesn't.
He's got it labeled. Allan, make him laugh.
He sure does. Do you think that when I see this CD that it inspires me to go make them laugh?
Yes.
It does. It does. You're right.
You think so little of Allan that you think a CD from Ed?
Yes. Well, I've never seen it before. So.
Oh, that's fine.
That's
fine. I haven't been on stage in years, so it doesn't matter.
I think some of the names of these jokes are great.
What jumps out at you?
Cannibals.
Cannibals. I think we've heard that one.
Cowboy boots. That seems funny.
I don't remember cowboy boots.
Gold urinal.
I definitely haven't heard that one.
No.
Mortician. That could be fun.
Maybe. Have we heard Mortician? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Well, two little people.
Uh-oh.
You didn't call them midgets.
Did he call you on that one, Rafiq?
I mean, Ed is much more woke.
So,
than I.
David, we've been
He's
going.
twice your age. This guy's old.
He's an old man. We've been going through these one by one. We've done 29 of them with our guests. It never ends well. Would it surprise you to find out that most of these titles do not actually correspond with the joke on that track?
No, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I didn't think it would. So, we're at number 30 now. It claims to be about an eating habit.
Oh, that's right up my alley.
He's been hitting, the last few that we've done, he's been knocking it out of the park with getting the title correct with the number. So this actually could be about an eating habit.
Okay.
It probably isn't.
This isn't your dad or something, is it?
No. This was bought for me from a family member, and I've been making fun of it on a podcast ever since.
Okay, good. Because I was like, fuck, man, this is Make Him Laugh Allan. I was like, is this like your dad? Really like
Do you think I look like this guy?
I mean, you know.
All right.
He probably was on the road one night and found it. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I love the idea of
Could
like
have been a waitress.
Right.
I don't know.
Just generationally comedy.
I will say, I got it before I forget. 2 times in the very recent past, I've seen recent pictures of my face and thought it was my dad. Really fucking weird. I don't like that feeling.
You look just like your dad.
I'm starting to look exactly like my
I
father.
don't look like my dad at all, but I act like him, which scares the shit out of me.
So your dad looks like Jason Alexander? Is that...
Do I look like Jason Alexander?
Kinda.
From Seinfeld?
Yeah, I
George?
mean, like...
No.
I've never heard this from anyone.
Maybe it's just the...
hairline? You can say the hairline.
Yeah.
Just say it, bastard.
Well, no, he was like, he had the horseshoe going. He still has hair.
It's all thick back here so far.
I think what it is for me when I look at your face that brings that to mind is it's the glasses and the hairline together somehow inspires that image.
He's like a Robert Schmeagol.
Right, yeah.
Or
Yeah,
Schmeigel,
okay.
whatever the fuck.
All right, you know what? I don't like the way this is going. Let's
That's the first guy with glasses that popped in my head.
This is number 30, eating habit.
This guy goes to the doctor because he's complaining that his penis looks orange.
Oh, God.
And the doctor says, well, let me take a look. And he takes a look and he says, yeah, he says, I do notice that. He says, has there been any changes in your lifestyle? Any changes in your diet? And the guy says, no, mostly I do just what I usually do. Lay on the couch watching porn and eating Cheetos.
See, David, what happened was the guy was masturbating with Cheetos on his fingers. Mm-hmm. Therefore, he stained his penis orange. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I guess technically that it could be about an eating habit.
I don't know.
When I think eating habit, I think
the
disorder.
David has covered his face.
So bad. Good God. What year is this from? This is from like 2016 or something.
That's a really good question. It was given to me last year on Christmas.
100%. This is like 2016.
Would you be surprised, David, to know that on his website, Ed has only one CD
available
for sale?
We've used all of his 100 jokes.
We've become obsessed with Ed. We've looked him up.
Has he died? Is he still alive?
He's still around as far as we know.
Yeah.
He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as a waiter. For real.
Wait, the new Tarantino film?
Yes.
Yeah.
The fuck?
This guy was in a Tarantino movie.
This guy has to be connected to somebody. Like, who's keeping his career alive?
I don't even know if he had a speaking part. And shockingly, I didn't notice him. I can't believe I didn't jump out of my seat and go, "Dear God, it's Ed!"
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been following him for how long now, though?
So I got this last Christmas, and we recorded that episode a couple weeks later.
Okay.
So January-ish of 2019, we've been...
Well, you might have had makeup on. It looked different, you know.
I guess.
How old is he?
That I haven't... We haven't delved that far into it. We went more into watching some of his YouTube stuff, getting an idea of what he actually does on stage. Because he doesn't just tell street jokes.
Does he still tour, though?
Yeah, as far as we can tell.
Would you be surprised to know that Ed had a appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno as a racist caricature of Jay Leno?
As a racist version?
It was like
it
was way too late for them to be doing this. They did a thing where it was like, what's the Tonight Show like in India? And it was a bunch of like racist stereotypes of Indians,
shit.
and he was the Jay Leno character with a real folky, like phony.
And with,
I talk like this. I am from India.
With like the makeup.
Yeah,
on
they
and
browned him up.
everything.
Oh,
And this was like 2008. This wasn't, in '97. Yeah, shit happens. Right. But it was like 2007, 8. Like, why did that happen?
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
You think an Ed's catalog of skills? Like brownface sounds reasonable.
I mean, look how old he is, dude. It's just an age thing, man.
But what I'm saying is that fucking Jay Leno signed off on that shit in 2008.
That's true.
That's weird.
Well, you gotta realize this is pre-Twitter, right? Twitter didn't start till...
Twitter was around in 2008. Come on, man.
Was it? No.
Yeah,
it didn't become the force of censorship that it's become today, but it's
not even that. That's what people get their news from.
Yeah,
I saw this video on Twitter. Yeah, that some jackass shot in the park.
Yeah,
it's not real. Or not that it's not real. It's like you saw 5 seconds of a fucking interaction, and that person needs to be fired.
Dude, I used to have a bit about that because that shit always pissed me off. Because the idea of imagine if the real news reported shit like Twitter does, you'd go fucking ape shit. If someone was like, Dog Fart 23 told us the president has just jerked off into this dude's salad. Here's a photo we found.
Yeah.
And then you went to people for comments. You'd be like, what the fuck does any of that mean?
Not to get too far off on this track, but like that's what you're describing is happening. There's a CNN guy who just had to apologize to Donald Trump because he read a tweet about how Donald Trump had signed a loan with Russian oligarchs. It was completely not true, but they couldn't wait to say it on the air. He's in bed with Russian oligarchs, and then he had to openly apologize for it the next day.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is CNN, they're trying to get hip and all this shit, and I get it because they're trying to appeal to the younger crowd. But it's just be boring.
It's
that's
not
what
just
you are.
CNN. It's
all the news things.
There were two occasions. How many? 2 occasions. The Democratic, the party, the convention, whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea. Look, this is awful, and I'm glad someone is talking about it. But the whole idea of putting the kids in cages. That's the phrase you always hear. Kids in cages. It's a bad thing. It's really good that people are talking about it.
Yeah.
The photos that they were using were from Obama's administration.
Yeah.
When Obama was putting kids in cages. They got called out on it, took that photo down, put another one up. That was also from Obama's administration.
Yeah. That's bad. You should do your fucking facts.
Right? It's you're the news. Do your,
Right.
Do your work.
Anyway, let's get back to Ed.
Let's get back to Ed.
Something more soul-crushing than kids in cages.
Sure. We're almost out of time.
Jerking off jokes.
I
do a lot of masturbation jokes, and that's horrible.
Well, this next one won't be any better.
First of all, it's a very long-winded setup.
You will find, if you listen to him enough, you will find that he loves to add detail that does not need to be there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. If you're going to have a long-winded setup, the punch better be huge, and that was not huge. That was a long-winded masturbation joke.
But David, that was one of the 100 funniest jokes he's ever heard.
I mean, are you going to argue
Does he say that that's not his? That's just stuff he's heard.
I mean, I think it's clear that these are street jokes. I don't think anyone buying this would be like, this guy's a genius. He wrote all 100 of these. Well, if they thought he was a genius because of this shit. This one is called Tarzan. Let's see if it's about Tarzan.
Oh, it's going to be racist.
Jane discovers Tarzan.
Hey!
She teaches him English. And then one day, Jane asked Tarzan, she said, Tarzan, what do you do when you want sex? Tarzan says, me put in hole in tree. And Jane strips naked and says, Tarzan, why don't you put it in here? And Tarzan looks and then kicks Jane in her vagina. And Jane screams, Tarzan, why did you do that? He said, Tarzan checked for bees.
He's used to fucking trees with bees in them. So he kicked Jane in the vagina.
Oh, okay. I think I got it.
So how does that joke make you feel?
What is this your goal to bring on comics to torture them with a shitty street show?
So
Dude,
that
I feel
was
like I'm being interrogated by Israelis or some shit, man.
So that was not our original intent.
This honestly feel like that. Like they always say, they play the same song. I'd rather listen to fucking Nickelback over and over again than have to hear 100 street jokes that are like that.
We did an entire our second episode of this podcast is just he and I doing this CD alone. And it was like like we enjoyed how bad it was at first.
Yeah.
But it didn't take us long to be like, I hate him. I hate myself.
Right.
I hate this podcast. I want to die. So we always kind of assumed that most of the comics we brought on would have that like smirk, like, oh, I can't believe this is real.
Yeah.
What we have found is that we're torturing people with this. And that was not my goal.
No, it's all right.
But it's kind of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I do.
Like,
it is amazing to watch how instantly exhausted comedians are when they hear this. They just are like out of the gate, like, oh god, like their body language. They go from up to like drooping.
Yeah.
It's great,
Dude, I mean, you catch me in middle school, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Some
and
of
honestly,
these,
that's not even true either, because I had television, I had Premium Blend,
Sure.
Comedy Central, I had
Kids in the Hall,
Comic View, BET, like that's like you could watch comedy all the time on TV. I've watched like so many Chris Rock Bigger and Blacker specials over and over again because they would play that, or Dane Cook all the time on like HBO, just like looping it.
Right.
Eddie Murphy stuff. I remember watching Eddie Murphy like Raw and Delirious when I was like 6. I have no idea what these jokes are except for the Ice Cream Man joke. Which I got that. But a lot of the shit where he talks about sex, I have no idea. And then I got older and I'm like, oh, that's what he meant, you know? Because my parents were young, so like my dad was 18 when I was born.
Oh wow.
So when I was like 6, he's like 20 something. He didn't give a shit. He's playing all the shit he liked when he was a kid. So
when what did we just do? We just did 31. I'm not gonna do another one, but out of the 31, there have been several that I went like, oh, I used to tell that joke to my friends when I was like 6th grade or below. Some of those I might have told to my friends when I was in 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah, I remember those. I remember doing like dead baby jokes when I was in middle school.
Right? And it's like
dark shit, dude. Like
it's weird because like there's part of me that would go, I would have respected Ed if Ed had been like, these are street jokes. I'm gonna take them. I'm gonna turn them into like a real thing.
And I think that hurts. Sorry, go ahead.
Like I'm gonna tell a dead baby joke, but I'm gonna make it my own dead baby joke, and I'm gonna.
You wanted him to Rudy Ray Moore it,
But like this is the lazy man version of that, where he's not adding anything. He's adding more words, but he's not adding any essence to the joke.
And it's like that could be a 4th grader telling those jokes, and it would be way funnier because it's the 4th grader.
Right, because it's a cute
man
kid,
in his 60s telling jokes that he heard, when he was in his 40s is bananas not good.
You know what?
But what makes me even more mad, I think, is because I've seen headliners that do jokes like that.
Yes.
And now having to listen to them is infuriating because I just start thinking about like, no, I've seen headliners not do a full hour of it, but have them in their act, and I'm like, really? You couldn't do another 3 minutes? You couldn't come up with another 4 or 5 minute bit to fill in? You had to do a street joke in there, and it's just like it upsets me because I'm not very smart or educated, but I still at least try to write my own shit.
Right.
I'm gonna fail on my own jokes rather than do that shit just to appease an audience.
I will say there are some times where I go, if you want to tell the street joke, right? Mm-hmm. I'm okay with it if you've done 99% your own material and then you just Steve Eric.
Steve Eric prefaces it.
Right, where he goes like, hey man, this is just the show's over. And that's the thing I always respect is he goes like, we've done the show. Do you guys want a joke that you can take home with you? Yeah,
and memorize or tell people at work. And that's fine.
But like this,
that doesn't bother me.
This I go, you're going to hear Ed do his act and he's just going to slip one of those in as though it's his. Does. And you're like, oh, fuck you.
I didn't even think about that.
Even with a Cheeto joke, you could just hackily Donald Trump it.
Right.
Donald Trump goes to the doctor's office and it says, oh, yeah, and you just reword it and just, you know what I mean? That's just like low-hanging fruit, just not good. It's like, I don't know.
Right.
Well, thanks for being here. We're really, really glad to just make you have to deal with this.
So you end every podcast on a low note? Because that's what I'm gathering here. Every podcast.
Yeah,
like,
pretty
"Here,
much.
Read this horrible thing,
Yeah.
and then we're going to listen to these horrible jokes. We loved you earlier, but now we want to send you off on a low note. We're going to end... No, I'm just messing.
Yeah, Matt Williams, he denied our friendship after we played this for him.
I get it, dude.
It is always... I'll say this before we fucking wrap up. It is always delightful to... You know, like you said, you watch comics deflate.
Every time.
Yeah.
But, like, just the breadth of experiences, like watching people experience this, it's fucking fascinating.
It is.
Oh, I imagine.
It's really becoming a sociological experiment.
Right, because people could run the gamut between like legitimately depressed and like fucking furious.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No, I get that. That's interesting, you know. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, at a time... But the thing that even scares me even more is that there were probably dudes in the 80s that toured with these jokes and got paid thousands upon hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, probably.
To travel and do an hour of this garbage.
He's still living off that 80s money.
Right.
Yeah, do you know how jealous I am that I wasn't
Right.
born back then? It was that easy?
you could go on a cruise ship and still do these jokes, and you would probably
I know,
fucking get paid.
I know, it's...
So tell us how you really feel, Dan.
I don't feel like that. It's just soul crushing. Like, if you're the comic, that's doing that shit, like, there's one of two things. One, you really think they're good and you're just a good comic. Or two, you know they're horrible and yet you still do it. I feel, you know, that person's way worse because it's like, what are you doing, man? Like, I've heard stories of comics say that they'll go on the road with somebody and they'll feature, and then the headliner will come up to him and is like, hey, man, you know, like after the first show, he'll be like, look, I got kids, I got a wife, I'm just trying to... It's like they know their act is so hacky.
Yeah.
They're apologizing to the feature about it. And it's just like, if I was a feature, I'd be like, okay, but like, how do you... You know what I mean? That doesn't seem fun anymore for a comic. You know what I mean? That's when it becomes a job. And it's like, well, you stopped doing a job to do this because it was fun.
Right.
And now you've like switched it, and that's depressing. It seems scary that
It's real scary.
it's like a sellout thing. You know, you see people that sell out, and it's like, well, I could just go up there and do or joke thievery. But Amy Schumer did fucking street jokes on her special. And they were Patrice's, and it's like Patrice did street jokes. Now I don't know if you wrote those.
I don't think he did, because I'd heard a bunch of those before I saw it.
Yeah, I remember seeing like in school like the stupid sex jokes like jelly donut and all that stuff where you punch her in the mouth and
Right. So, well, speaking of selling out, is
Hey!
everybody sell out, Dan?
yeah, let's sell out some of these. I'm on a podcast myself called How to Die Alone.
Oh, so are you gonna have us on the podcast?
Oh, way to put him on the spot on Mike. That's good.
Oh, okay. Well, you've already been on, Rafiq.
I know, but
Well,
We don't like Allan, so
right, there you go. Good. Perfect.
we don't need another white guy. We got too many.
yeah, didn't you just
At
replace
least
one
it
white
was
guy
honest.
with another white guy with the same name?
Essentially. Exactly. No, I don't know. You have to talk to Steven about that. That's always my go-to when people hem me up at fucking open mics, all these young comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, talk to Steven.
Cool.
Make him be the bad guy.
Well, we'll see him next week.
What's your social stuff?
Oh, everything's at Not David Wayne on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on TikTok now.
Oh,
trying
yeah?
to get in there with the young crowd.
With
no
the
one
kids
likes
these
it.
days?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, I would go on there and I'm like, I feel too old to even be on here.
Just
And
you
it's
feel
like,
creepy
fuck
just
you.
even opening it?
We invented phones and these apps. Like, this is because of us, the millennials.
If you want a creepy social media experience, there's a dating app out there called Badoo, which is already fucking terrible. But that's
I
a
remember you
separate
telling
thing.
me about it. Though.
They have a thing there where they go, you want to talk to more people? Live stream. Just live stream whatever you're doing. And that opens up more matches for you. And so you just go on there, and it's a bunch of fucking creepy weirdos with like one hot girl going like, look at me cooking without a shirt on.
Or
and
some
you're
dude
like,
jerking off to porn eating
right?
Cheetos.
And you're like, oh my goodness, like, this is where we're at. This
That's
is
not
where
new. That's chat roulette. They've been doing that for years.
Yeah, but those people aren't trying to date, I don't think. This
Oh.
is like,
Yeah.
this is like locals in your area can see what you're doing. That's a way to get murdered.
Right.
Like, you're going to be like, oh, I'm down here at Dunedin Brewery. It's 8:30 p.m. I'm still here, by the way. It's live.
I don't have my car with me tonight, so if
all
you guys
my
want to
friends
come,
left me. I'm drunk by myself. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Is there any good guys out there that want to drive me home? It's
Right.
like, oh,
all right,
And then
boys.
she gets in the car and then she stabs him.
oh, can I plug some shows?
Yeah,
Sure.
we don't know when this is getting
That's
played.
fine. Well, I'll just do the big one. February of 2020.
Okay.
February 20th through the 23rd, I'll be hosting for Pat Garrity at Side Splitters.
Nice.
So if this comes out before then,
Oh,
come out. If it doesn't, awesome. I hope I was good.
You were great. Thank you for being here. I am about to piss my pants. My name is Allan Dempsey,
And I am Rafiq Shaheen.
and this guy's name is
David Wayne.
So how about this?
Huh?
So